Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 1st. Happy New Year, everyone. Ken comes down to wish us a Happy New Year, and Junpei follows suit after complaining about not getting sleep. Ken brings up the annual shrine visit, but it doesn't seem like anyone else wants to go, until it's mentioned that the girls are there in kimono. We get there, and the girls are looking gorgeous. My personal favorite kimono is Aigus's, but Junpei sits there and gawks before Ken rats him out, saying that Mr. Mignana said that the girls are going commando. With our monthly perversions out of the way, I get a phone call from Liz to tell me Tartarus got bigger, and watch one of the new security recordings, this one from September. I'm immediately reminded of how long last year really was, as this video is a touching look into Shinjiro's personality. He loved cooking, especially so if it was for Koromaru. He tries to hide this fact from Fook and the Fembot, but Koro rats him out. I'm not crying, you're crying. I end the night with some Persona fusing, emptying my wallet to set up something special tomorrow, and playing some Wool Whackers. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 2nd. Let's get going. Jillian reminded me that the old couple existed, so I decided to spend some time with them. Unkichi seems to be looking for something, and since I'm nice, I help. He gets found by a foreigner outside named Bebe, who says he goes to Gekkoukan like me. After Bebe books it, Bunkichi pulls out his son's car keys and says he's going to go for a spin, but Mitsuko yells at him, saying she's going to end up alone. They explain to me that their son was killed by a drunk driver. With the mood relatively shifted, I leave and head to Tartarus. Upon reaching the final block, Adama, my Judgment Social Link levels up. I level up to 65, reference SMT3, and drop back down to do something extra special.
I've assembled all 5 special cards, all 5 pieces of the puzzle.
I summon Ryoji to aid me in climbing Tartarus, and we start with these weird floating eyeballs. I figure out that if I just use Makara-Karn and let Akihiko and Aigus take point, these spammy eyes can't really touch us. We wash them, and my SL levels up again. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 3rd. Let's get going. I attempt to start the day with some home shopping, but I guess Tanaka's capitalizing on the doom and gloom to great success. Instead, I hunt around all day for anybody that's available, and end up having to hang out with Mamoru, the guy that beat me in Kendo. He challenges me to a takoyaki eating competition, and he's fast. I employ my patented ball swallowing technique, and thankfully, it allows us to tie. Mamoru says the tie is still a loss to him, so after forming a bond with the Glizzy Gobbler, he goes off to run some laps. When I get back to the dorm, I find a new recording on the monitor, and this starts our mini arc of catching up with the recordings. This one takes place during my mini coma back in September, and has the then roboticized Aigus keeping tabs on my health, not to mention the breaking and entering. After watching myself be stalked, I head to GP with Thanatos, and end the night by making plans with Scottery the Wazzery. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 4th. Let's get going. Since I made plans with Wozniak-kun, we meet up at Cafe Chagall, where he makes some small talk about his reading habits, before diving into his self-doubt. He's still mad that his dad wants him to study abroad, and I think I genuinely get a little mad at his first world problems. I mean, I never complain about the fact that I'm literally in the process of saving everyone in the world from the coming apocalypse now, do I? He's a little taken aback, and we end our coffee date shortly after. Continuing with our recording catch-up, we get a peek into Mitsuru's room, just as she's coming out of the shower. She talks to herself a little, and she sounds different.
Whew. Whoops, I've gotten used to walking around without my bathrobe lately.
More laid back, like she doesn't need to be proper. She realizes she should put more clothes on. And after a small bit of jealousy at not being able to wear what she wants, she heads off screen to undress. What the fuck was the chairman doing in here? I end the night with some GP, and Fuka calls me to hang out tomorrow, which I gladly accept. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 5th. Let's get going. We start the day off with a Fuka Tuesday.
Come Tuesday?
Fuka makes some small talk about how Mitsuru owns the mall in the school, which is kind of expected at this point. She also mentions that the pharmacist and her were talking about cooking, and he brought up using powdered habu venom in the dishes. I say I think that might be a cool idea, but unfortunately the Fuka doesn't want to accidentally poison me.
Hi, how was your day?
I don't know, Fuka. You tell me. Our newest recording is of Yukari's bedroom, and she's in a maid outfit. She says she's bummed that the festival was canceled, and she thinks that she might wear the outfit around the dorm for a day before...
Sup, Yuka-tan? What's going on, Yukari?
She decides to take a picture instead.
Yukari-chan, are you there?
Fuka knocks on the door, and Yukari decides she's gonna get Fuka to take a picture with her in the maid outfit, so she starts to undress her.
Wait! Yukari-chan! Oh!
Ikutsuki isn't beating the pedophile allegations. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 6th. Let's get going. Since we're still on winter break, I decide to hang with the old couple again. I get there, but Mitsuko's gone. Bunkichi tells me she went to GeckoCon, but we're on vacation, so she comes right back. She seems panicked though, and they bring up that there was a rumor going around that they were going to cut down the persimmon tree in the courtyard. They ask about it, and I make a mental note to check on it when school starts. We're back in the Goon Cave for one last time, to watch a recording of Ken practicing with a broom. He laments being short, saying that he chose the lance because it evened out the playing field with adults.
Ow!
After brutally murdering his shin, Jiro, he heads over to the desk to chug some milk, like any good short king.
So we meet again, you little bastard.
After some time at GP, I get ready for bed, but Yukari calls and asks to hang out tomorrow, so see you tomorrow. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 7th. Let's get going. Since I made plans with Yukari last night, we meet up at the record store. I wonder what they sell there. The game doesn't let me shop there, after all. She says she hopes a record she wants gets delayed, because she's used her spending money up for the month. But it's only the 7th. God damn, Yukari. She asks about my saving habits, and due to my IRL situation, I'm kind of forced to save up every month, so I answer honestly. She's shocked by this. What makes it even more shocking is that I immediately hand her a Louis Vuitton bag. Save her my ass. I end the night by walking Koromaru with Aigis. She reminds me that school starts tomorrow, and says she wants to walk home with me tomorrow. Does that mean what I think it means? Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 8th. Let's get going. We're finally back at school. In class, Maya welcomes us back, and lets slip her alcoholic tendencies, before cursing me with the worst English question I've ever been asked. Even in IRL school, this shit stumped me. After being humiliated, Junpei comes up to me, and asks to meet him on the roof. If I didn't know any better, this is 100% a confession flag, but when we get there, he kind of runs through his thoughts about the coming month. It's a weird moment, but it's touching, especially hearing these words come from him.
You're pretty cool, man. I'm glad I met you.
He asks if we'll be friends forever, and I tell him there's no need. It's time for a Fuka Friday. We went to the bookstore today to look for cookbooks, but I guess there weren't any. As we leave, Fuka tells me about why she doesn't like bookstores. Back in April, she was accused of stealing a book. Wait, another thief girlfriend? She said she didn't think she could stand up for herself, but now that I'm with her, that's changed. I guess we're officially dating now. She runs off and I hit up GP. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 9th. Let's get going. I start the day by checking on the persimmon tree in the courtyard, and find it still standing. The juice girl next to it says they're cutting it down soon, though. I end up walking home with Aigis today, at the behest of Lewis. We walk past the shrine, and get to talking about how she didn't understand why people visited them until just recently. She says she finally started thinking like humans do, with feelings instead of facts. I form a bond with the robot girl, and after reminding me she's not human, I drag her into Tartarus. On the way to the next boss, I level up to 66, and an omen for the coming fight. These snakes are a fusion of every annoying boss I've fought up to this point. Spirit Drain to prevent my healers from working, resistance to all forms of magic, party-wide and instant kills, and worst of all, Tetracar. After about 40 minutes of slamming my head into the wall, I realized Koromaru is literally immune to half of their moves, so I bring him along even though he's underleveled. And what do you know? I win on my first try with him in the party. I level up my Judgment SL to 5, and book it the fuck out of it. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 10th. Let's get going. I make sure to check the home shopping channel again, but since it's sold out, the same as last week, I figure it's time to say farewell to Tanaka. Since we're off today, I do a bit of planning in terms of my social links, and realize I can finish both Fuka and Aigis this month, and maybe Yukari if I'm lucky. I figure the best thing to do is to make sure Fuka can level up again, so I pull a fortune for her. I end the night by walking Koromaru, and run into Mamoru at the shrine. We talk for a bit before calling it. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 11th. Let's get going. After a quick restroom break, I stumble into the Velvet Room to commence Operation Finish the Fuking Mission. I decide to summon a cheap Priestess persona to help make Fuka's SL easier to complete, something I've almost entirely neglected this whole playthrough. I also summon a Lover's persona just in case I have time for Yukari, but after summoning one half of my Aeon persona, I realize I'm out of money. So after selling my collection of swords and bows I'd saved up all game, I fused Dekarabia and Kaiwan to make Uriel, to aid in improving my relationship with Aigis. Since I can't hang with either girl today on account of it being an off day, I pull a final fortune for Fuka and hope she'll be ready this week. I end the night with some game panic with Thanatos. Welcome to Persona Every Day. Today's January 12th. Let's get going. After catching some shut-eye in class, I start to stress because Aigis, Yukari, and Fuka are all missing. After deliberating on whether to finish Maiko or not, I decided it'd be best if I just guaranteed success for Operation Finish the Fuking Mission. I get back to the dorm, only to be whisked away by Junpei to Hagakure for some ramen. After placing our order and thanking Akihiko for buying for the group, he starts to read an article in a magazine, only to discover an expose on the Doomsday Cult that's been brewing in the background. It turns out Takaya is the leader of the cult, even calling himself a messiah, truly befitting of the assassin Jesus. The article contains Takaya's preachings, which show he knows about Nyx, and instead of warning people about it, he tells them to embrace it as their salvation. Aigis hits us with a bit of nihilism, saying that death is inevitable even without Nyx, so that explains why civilians would follow Strega. Aki says we'll probably meet them in Tartarus, so we should prepare, and I do that by hitting up GP with Ryoji. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 13th. Let's get going. During lunch, Yukari and Aigis blit past me trying to get my attention. Since we're on a big time crunch, I meet Aigis up on the roof. She talks about the view, and says she much prefers this to the one in Yakushima. She says she didn't think about simple things like views before she came here, and asks my opinion on Tatsumi Port Island. I say I enjoyed here, because I genuinely do. She gets mushy and stares in my eyes for a second before realizing it's the middle of January and I could get sick. Instead of staying warm back at the dorm, I walk Koromaru and run into Chihiro. She's still stalking me, it seems, but at least this time I learn a little bit about her. She apparently was attacked by a dog when she was younger. I've learned more about her personality here than in her entire social link. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 14th. Let's get going. It's Thursday, a day where Fuka and Aigis are busy, so I have to make do with Yukari. She scares me a little by setting up what looks to be a reversal cutscene, only to remind me of that time that I tried to hug her and she got mad at me. She apologizes for getting angry, and says she was actually glad that I showed up. She thanks me, and I tell her, anytime, and she giggles at me trying to be humble. We're dating now, I guess. Back at the dorm, I can't take Koro for walkies, so I hit up Gang Panic. I get a call from Yukari and set up a Sunday date, since that day's free for me as well. Yeah, about that, Fook. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 15th. Let's get going. It's time for another Fuka Friday. We meet on the roof, and she apologizes for running away on me last week. Fook says she panics when she has to make a decision because she can't seem to think positively, and asks how I'm able to do it. I tell her I don't really think about it, and she blushes, saying that's an attractive quality for her. She gives me the fookiest confession possible, complete with crazy awkward answers. I accept, and move on to the meat of today, Tartarus. At the next boss floor, I find out the big scale likes to spam party-wide dyne skills to target our weaknesses, and I figure I can get away with critting it to knock it down for a quick kill, but these few lucky crits from the first attempt are the last crits I ever land. With high dodge and Megidola own if I try to reflect, after a literal hour and 40 minutes of slamming my head into the wall and some grinding on a floor with gold hands, I decide to look up the boss on the wiki, and the only suggestions it has are to use my desperation move, Thunder Call. Even with it, I still die twice, but I make it out alive, and rank up to 6. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 16th. Let's get going. After class, I hang with Aigis. On our way to the strip mall, we get ambushed by a pack of wild dogs. Aigis says these are Koromaru's old friends, and they're worried about him. Specifically, they're mad at us for putting him in danger. Aigis tries to calm them down, but one of the dogs ends up biting her hand, hurting his teeth on account of her robotic structure. As the dogs run off, Aigis starts to express more of her, depression. She's experiencing feelings of self-doubt, saying she's not good enough because she's not fully robot or fully human. I tell her that's not true, as she just needs to be herself, and nothing else. She thanks me for that, and runs off to make sure Koro's friends know he's okay. Continuing with the dog-filled day, I take Koro for walkies with Mitsuru. She tells me she's grateful I invited her on the walk, as she needed a breather. It's a shame I couldn't do her social link in this playthrough. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 17th. Let's get going. Since I made plans with Yukari, we meet up at the mall. She says she feels awkward hanging out outside of school because someone might start rumors about us, but she realizes we're dating already, so that's worthless. I give her a red pine bonsai, and she seems disappointed. But bitch, do you know how expensive this shit is? With literally nothing else to do for the rest of the day, or next Sunday for that matter, I hit up GP with Thanatos. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 18th. Let's get going. Edogawa's subbing today. It's great to see him after so long. He's teaching about the ancient Greek magics, and tells us some of the legends and mythos. He even brings up Orpheus, the guy that ventured into Tartarus to bring his love back, but ultimately failed. Huh. Avoiding that awkward connection, I answer his question and move on to hang with Aigis, my friend. As we walk into the mall, we get stopped by an old lady asking if we can help look for her cat. She describes it, and it kinda sounds like that big cat that I had to feed, so I tell her I saw a cat over by the station. She leaves to look for it, and Aigis asks me if we can go pussy hunting as well. I say why not? There aren't many side quests to do this month anyway. We look all over Tatsumi Port Island, and don't find anything. Aigis starts to get sad, saying she feels useless, because she can't find life forms besides shadows. She seems a little bipolar though, as immediately after this, she mood swings to thank me for indulging her. She heads back to the dorm, and I head to GP. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 19th. Let's get going. Since Tuesday is the only day of the week I'm exclusively free, I decide to spend it perusing some of the wares that I'm too broke to buy. Upon remembering that Liz has a mission for me that could get me 5 million yen, I snag a fortune for Aigis with full intent to go into Tartarus. The fortune goes sour, however, costing me 5,000 yen and my health. Thank God for bathroom breaks. I decide to hunt the Reaper today, something I only ever did in base P5 with the pollen glitch. I get humbled almost immediately, but I get right back up for round 2. The only reason I'm even attempting this is because one of my commenters, Fishman573, said that the Thunder Call trick from the last boss is how I can farm the Reaper, so I figured I might as well give it a shot. When I start to get low on SP, I pop a Precious Egg, and Akihiko covers me twice with lucky crits. After about 20 minutes of spam, we clear him out, taking me to level 69. Wait, where's my bloody button? So it turns out, I forgot to grab the mission, and I spent another hour and a half trying to beat him again. But after getting Megi Dola owned out of nowhere, I call it quits. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 20th. Let's get going. While walking home with Aigis, we hear a cat meow coming from the alley, and since she's very worried about the missing kitty, we immediately investigate. I figured it was just the fat cat that I helped out, but because Aigis can speak to animals, we find out it is indeed Muley, the old lady's missing cat. We find the old lady at Polonia, and she thanks us for reuniting her with Muley. She mentions that she was lonely without her, and Aigis gets a lesson in learning how to live. The old lady leaves, and she tells me she thinks that living is something you can't do alone. You need someone by your side to help you through the troubles. She wonders, though, if she'll truly be able to do that in her robot body. Just kidding, I guess. She heads home, and I head to GP. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 21st. Let's get going. Mitsuru comes to us after class and asks for me and me alone to go with her. It's a little out of the ordinary, but it's completely understandable when she tells me that Junpei's girlfriend Chidori is actually alive. Apparently, she turned into a coffin during the first dark hour after she gave her life to Junpei, and Mitsuru was afraid of telling us in case she didn't actually pull through. Junpei overhears this and busts in to confirm she's alive before running off to the hospital. We follow him and wait outside while he has his moment. Chidorita doesn't remember anything from the past few years, and the doctor says this is a side effect of losing her persona. I guess fusing her life force with Junpei took away the bad memories, but Chidori gets mad when Junpei brings this up, saying they weren't bad memories. She actually dreamt of a warm, loving person. And she gets awkward after being asked what she would do if she met him. Mitsuru celebrates Chidori's revival.
2 hearts reunited. It's a miracle. No, it's a victory.
And I celebrated at GP. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 22nd. Let's get going. In math class, Ms. Miyahara says it's extremely unlikely that the world is going to end anytime soon. But I missed the rest of the lesson on account of my nap. Now it's just off to visit Fuka, and I can explain. Since I've been hanging with Aigis so much, Fuka got mad, and right now, looking at the math, I only have one day that I'd be able to skip for Aigis, barring something catastrophic. So, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give up on the glorious Fuking mission. This only emboldens me though, as I now have free reign to complete the Toaster Link, which I do today by running into one of our Kohai. His name is Kiyoshi, and he bullied his grandma, the cat lady, into giving him money. Aigis asks him his opinion on the meaning of life, and he gives the most frustrating answer I've ever heard. Party till you drop. He gets mad after asking Aigis on a date, and realizing I look like a boyfriend, Aigis gets embarrassed. By the way, unless specified, from now on, my nights will be at GP with Ryoji. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 23rd. Let's get going. I stop at the mall on the way home with Aigis, and we run into Kiyoshi's grandmother. She says Muley's missing again, but this time it's for good. Muley's gone off to look for a place to lay to rest. This disturbs Aigis, and as the cat lady goes to leave, she stops her to tell her she isn't alone. The lady chuckles and says that as long as there are people in the world, no one can truly be alone. Aigis gets sent into a doom spiral, asking what purpose life serves if everyone's just gonna die. She runs back to the dorm, and I follow her, only to head to Tartarus. We made it to the next boss, 3 tortured simps. who immediately tear the team apart with Vorpal Blade. I try Thunder Call, but they're immune to Elec, so my instant win button's negated. I check my persona list and realize Giramekala repels Slash, so with a little help from that, attack mirrors, and the assigned target tactic, the girls and I cleared this floor. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 24th. Let's get going. It's Sunday, which means there's nothing to do, so after hitting up GP in the bathroom, I head back into Tartarus. During this small climb to the next floor, Thanatos hits his max level and grants me his heart item, the Ring of Darkness. I also level up to 70, just before we hit floor 252, and the final boss in Tartarus, the Jotun of Grief. This fat bastard only takes damage from pierce attacks, and Megiddo skills, and he absorbs every other element. He also likes to enrage the party so that our double attacks heal him. Thankfully, I have 3 party members who are well versed in pierce attacks, and with Loki's Megidola and Revolution, this long slogfest of a fight is broken down quickly. I even managed to avoid getting enraged myself until the last turn with my high agility. Upon defeat, we max out our Judgment Social Link, enabling me to fuse Messiah, the ultimate end goal. I've got my work cut out to go up 90 levels. We also hit a roadblock just 2 floors up. I wonder what that's about. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 25th. Let's get going. Miss Terauchi tells us in class that after this semester, she's leaving to go to India with her lover? Husband? I never find out because I fell asleep. I wake up in the faculty office in the middle of my career counseling appointment. Miss Toriyumi asks me what I plan to do after high school, and my honest answer is, and was, college. She also mentions that I've matured, and when asked why, I bring up the death of Shinjiro. The game really did take a noticeable tone shift in October after all. Toriyumi thanks me for my time, and asks me to go fetch Aigis. I find the femoid on the roof, and she vents about how much she's changed in just a short time, before begging me to bring her with when we fight Nyx. I tell her I wouldn't have it any other way, and she heads off for her career counseling. What I don't realize is that means she's busy. I now have zero clue if I'll be able to finish her SL in time, as she's only free Saturday and Sunday, and she's at rank 7. I decide to repair my relationship with Fuka instead, just to make sure we're not on bad terms before the big fight.
Now I want you to think about gaslighting and Stockholm Syndrome.
Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 26th. Let's get going. I spent some time with Aigis, but nothing happens. Meaning, it's officially over, guys. To blow off some steam and some anxiety, I head into Tartarus to try and reach my target of 90, but after a few failed attempts at the Reaper, and only going up 1 whole level after an hour of grinding, I decide to take one last shot at the Reaper, as I get the God rotation, where everyone moves before him. Unfortunately, I miss the second Thunder Call of the fight, and Akihiko dies, and since I don't have a healer because Yukari decided to attack instead of healing in a previous attempt, I never get to revive him. Meaning, it's only a matter of time until I get whacked with a Mugarudine, and call it quits for the day. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 27th. Let's get going. I run into Aigis at lunch, and it seems like she has something important to tell me, so after school we head to her favorite spot, the roof. She apologizes for the last time we hung out, and asks me flat out if I've ever come to the roof with another girl. I tell her that I'm here right now with one, and she gets a bit flustered, before telling me she doesn't want to be the reason I can't get laid. I get a bit sad, as she tries so hard to tell me she loves me, but she's afraid she can't love because she's not fully human. Before I can tell her I love her, she runs off, leaving me alone on the roof. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 28th. Let's get going. It's our final English class. In January. Yeah, in January. To honor Miss Toriyumi, I take a nap. After class, Aigis and I take a trip to the roof. She really likes this spot, huh? She reminisces on the past few weeks, since she became more human, and tells me she thinks she's learned what life is about. Unfortunately, while recording this section, I was on a phone call with a friend, so all my notes have to say is, and I quote, "She's afraid of losing me, that's life, yap goddess." I look up from my phone call just in time to see Aigis confess her love to me. She says she loves me so much she feels like she might break. The game doesn't even give me a choice. It knows I'm gonna hug this girl. And after awkwardly breaking away from the hug, Aigis says we should get back home. Separately, of course. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 29th. Let's get going. At lunch, Aigis blips past me, as I have plans for our final Friday. Our final Fuka Friday. I'm actually pretty pissed at myself for not being able to finish her link. There were a lot of weeks in December and January that I just couldn't hang with her, or had to hang with someone else out of necessity. And it's an even bigger kick in the teeth when I find out she still would have needed at least 3 more hangouts. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. At night, I decide to take Koromaru for a walk, and wouldn't you know it, the whole gang is here. This scene's really cool, the calm before the storm, or one last good memory. However it plays out, it's something I hope stays for Reload. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 30th. Let's get going. Aigis invites me to her room today, and I have to say, this room is, fashionable. Aigis tells me I don't have to sugarcoat it, though, as even she's realized it isn't normal to have this many boxes of bullets. She says she's realized that the lyrics to the game's opening are how she feels, and she sings them to me before literally screwing me. She says she wants me to hold on to a literal part of her, and I max my new robot wife, allowing me to make Metatron. Before I can leave to summon him, though, Aigis asks one final request of me. She wants me to touch her heart, physically. The ribbon she wears hides a Papillon heart, the center of all of her emotions. By touching it, it imprints my skin oils and DNA into her body. It's actually a way more emotional thing than it sounds. After spending some time with Aigis, I head over to Polonia for the last time, and win myself a Jack Frost doll for good luck. Friends till the end. Welcome to Persona Everyday. Today's January 31st, and it's a full moon. Normally this would be a YouTube short, but because of the gravitas of this day, and the overwhelming amount of footage, I decided to upload it as a slightly longer video. We meet in the lounge, where Yukari brings up the fact that since we're getting rid of the Dark Hour, we're going to be getting rid of our memories as well. Junpei has a plan though, and says that we should all make a promise to meet up on graduation day, even if we do forget our time has ceased. Everyone agrees, and off to Tartarus we go. On our way up, Fuka lets us know that Strega is here, and after leveling up to 72, we encounter Jin on floor 258. He drops a bombshell, saying that the Kirijo group is actually the reason Strega exists at all. We tear our way through him, and he explains more in detail what he, Chidori, and Takaya have in common. This wastes our time, however, and we're quickly surrounded by shadows, and are forced to the next floor before we can help Jin. He doesn't go down without a fight, as we hear an explosion behind us. On our way up to fight Takaya, I decided to get some grinding in to prepare for the fights ahead of us, landing me right at lucky level 77. On floor 262, we encounter Takaya, who gives us some more Jesus talk before Junpei...
I'm not dying so you can have a friggin' nightlight!
Anyway, after an explanation of what life is, courtesy of the tin can, we put the mitts on Takaya, granting us access to the roof of Tartarus. Nyx descends onto us, and I'll cut the Mystic Mumbo Jumbo as it really only serves to pad the video.
Yes, the Arcana is the means by which all is revealed.
Look, after 15 hours of hearing this boss, I've gotta say, it's more grating than...
There's no way you're taking Kairi's heart!
I fight through 14 phases countless times, to the point I actually know them by their Arcana. Each phase is actually a copy of another Tartarus boss, which is really cool in theory, but I'm scared to think about how this will work in Reload. My biggest gripe with this fight, aside from the fact that each attempt takes roughly 45 minutes to an hour, is that you can't get one mores on Nyx, but it can one more you. I intended to land the final blow with Jack Frost, but I got enraged at the last second, and I don't have it in me to replay this boss for the clip. Not right now, at least. For context, this is being recorded, edited, and scripted at 2:46 a.m. on January 31st. After beating Nyx, I get thrown into a classic endgame cutscene, where all of my friends come together and share their energy with me, Spirit Bomb style, to help me defeat Nyx. I float upward into the moon to face the final act of the game, the Death Egg. It nukes me to 1 HP, and the only ability I have costs all of my HP, so my friends come together, even from beyond the grave, to help me. I seal Nyx, ending the Dark Hour forevermore. We cut to the end of Evangelion, where everyone worries over whether I lived or not, but Ryoji tells him not to fret, as we've created our miracle. I'm gonna need a good long rest after this one.